Welcome to Historical Legacies. Here, we dive into history's most intriguing stories, unraveling mysteries, and uncovering truths from the past. Subscribe to join our journey through time's greatest moments. Today, I will be narrating a short story on Ronald Reagan and his journey from Hollywood to the Cold War. This story is distributed into 5 parts, but before that, I will narrate a short introduction. Ronald Reagan, affectionately known as the Gipper, remains one of the most transformative figures in American history, seamlessly transitioning from a Hollywood star to a political icon. His journey from the silver screen to the Oval Office reflects a profound evolution of character, ideals, and leadership. At the heart of his story lies an unwavering commitment to optimism, freedom, and strength, which shaped his role in ending the Cold War and redefining American conservatism. All right, let's begin with part one: the Hollywood years, crafting a star and a communicator. Ronald Reagan was born on February 6, 1911, in Tampico, Illinois, into a modest household. His father, Jack Reagan, worked as a salesman, while his mother, Nell, was a devoutly religious woman who instilled in her son a deep sense of optimism. Nicknamed Dutch due to his haircut resembling that of a Dutch boy, Reagan developed an early passion for storytelling, a talent that would serve him well throughout his life. Reagan's journey into the limelight began after graduating from Eureka College in 1932, where he excelled as an athlete, student leader, and an inspiring actor. Initially, he worked as a radio announcer, most notably broadcasting for Chicago Cubs. In 1937, a screen test during a spring training trip in California led to a contract with Warner Brothers Studios, propelling Reagan into Hollywood. Over the next 2 decades, he appeared in over 50 films, including his iconic role as George Gipp in Newt Rock'n, All American, earning him the lifetime moniker the Gipper. While his career flourished, Reagan's time in Hollywood was not solely about acting. The 1940s saw him taking on leadership roles in the Screen Actors Guild, serving multiple terms as its president. In this capacity, Reagan navigated labor disputes and took a strong stance against communist influence within the industry. His experience during the era shaped his political awakening, transitioning him from a New Deal Democrat to a staunch anti communist. By the early 1950s, Reagan's film career had plateaued, but his reputation as an effective communicator endured. His time in Hollywood laid the foundation for his future in politics, equip him, equipping him with the charisma and confidence to connect with audiences across all walks of life. All right, now we will talk about the General Electric years, a political awakening. After his film career began to decline in the early 1950s, Ronald Reagan found a new stage in the emerging medium of television. In 1954, he became the host of General Electric Theater, a popular anthology series sponsored by General Electric. His role went beyond appearing on screen. He also served as GE's Goodwill Ambassador, traveling across the country to speak at factories and community events. This new chapter in Reagan's life became pivotal in shaping his political ideology and honing his communication skills. Reagan's tours of GE facilities provided him direct exposure to the lives and concerns of working class Americans. Listening to their stories of hard work and self reliance deepened his belief in individualism and limited government. His speeches at the events increasingly reflected theme of free market capitalism, personal responsibility, and opposition to overregulation. principles that resonated with his audience. These experiences gradually transformed Reagan from a Hollywood actor to a political thinker with a distinct conservative philosophy. This period also marked significant personal developments. Reagan married Nancy Davis in 1952, forming a partnership that would become a cornerstone of his political career. Nancy's unwavering support and keen political instincts complemented Reagan's public persona, making them a formidable team. Reagan's political evolution culminated in 1964 when he delivered the electrifying A Time for Choosing speech on behalf of Republican presidential candidate Barry Goldwater. The speech, which highlighted the dangers of government overreach and championed conservative values, catapulted Reagan into the national spotlight. While Goldwater lost the election, Reagan's eloquence and conviction captured the imagination of conservatives, positioning him as a rising star in the Republican Party. These years with GE were instrumental in transitioning Reagan from a Hollywood actor to a politically astute communicator. By the time he left the program in 1962, he laid the groundwork for a political career that would soon take center stage. The California governorship testing the political waters. In 1966, Ronald Reagan launched his bid for the governorship of California, positioning himself as an outsider who could bring fresh solutions to the state's pressing issues. His campaign focused on themes of fiscal responsibility, law and order, and curbing the influence of the counterculture movement. Despite initial skepticism about his lack of political experience, Reagan's charisma, clear messaging, and optimistic vision won over voters. He defeated incumbent Governor Pat Brown in a landslide, beginning his two-term tenure from 1967 to 1975. Reagan's governorship was marked by significant challenges, including mounting budget deficit, student protests, and debates over welfare reform. One of his first major acts was addressing California's financial crisis. Despite campaigning on a promise to cut taxes, Reagan initially raised them to balance the budget, demonstrating a pragmatic approach to governance. This move surprised some conservatives but underscored Reagan's ability to adapt when circumstances demanded. Reagan's approach to welfare reform became a hallmark of his administration. He sought to reduce costs by streamlining the system, cutting unnecessary expenditure, and ensuring aid reached those genuinely in need. While critics accused him of being overly harsh, Reagan defended his policies as necessary to curb abuse and promote self reliance. The late 1960s also saw widespread unrest, particularly among students protesting the Vietnam War and advocating for free speech. Reagan gained national attention for his firm stance against these demonstrations, particularly at the University of California, Berkeley. His response to the protests, emphasizing law and order, solidified his image as a decisive leader unafraid to confront societal upheavals. By the end of his second term, Reagan had built a reputation as a leader who combined ideological conviction with practical governance. His speech increasingly touched on national issues, signaling his ambitions for higher office. Leaving Sacramento in 1975, Reagan was well positioned as a leading voice in the Republican Party, ready to take his vision to a broader stage. All right, let's talk about the presidency. reviving America and facing the Cold War. Ronald Reagan's path to presidency was not without its hurdles. After losing the Republican primary to incumbent President Gerald Ford in 1976, Reagan refined his political strategy and returned stronger in 1980. Returning against President Jimmy Carter, Reagan capitalized on widespread economic discontent, high inflation, and a sense of declining national pride. His optimistic campaign message, encapsulated in the question, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" resonated deeply with voters. The result was a decisive victory, making Reagan the 40th President of the United States. Upon taking office in January 1981, Reagan inherited a nation grappling with economic stagnation, high unemployment, and pervasive sense of pessimism. His administration response was a bold economic strategy dubbed Reaganomics, which centered on cutting taxes, reducing government regulations, and tightening monetary policy to curb inflation. The Economic Recovery Tax Act of 1981 marked one of the largest tax cuts in US history, aiming to stimulate growth by empowering individuals and businesses. While the initial years saw a recession, the economy rebounded by mid-decade, leading to a period of sustained growth. Critics, however, argued that Reaganomics widened income inequality and contributed to a growing national debt. On the global stage, Reagan adopted a firm stance against the Soviet Union, labeling it the evil empire. His administration significantly increased defense spending and introduced the Strategic Defense Initiative, a controversial missile defense system nicknamed Star Wars. These actions initially escalated tensions in the Cold War but also signaled America's resolve. A turning point came with Reagan's relationship with Soviet leaders Mikhail Gorbachev. Through a series of summits, the two leaders negotiated arms reduction agreements, culminating in the 1987 Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Reagan's ability to combine strength with diplomacy played a crucial role in easing Cold War tensions, earning him praise as a statesman. By the end of his presidency in 1989, Reagan had restored a sense of optimism and confidence in the United States. His leadership style, marked by clear vision and a collaborative approach, left an indelible mark on the nation and the world. Alright, let's begin with the final part about his legacy: transforming conservatism and ending the Cold War. Ronald Reagan left the White House in January 1989 with high approval ratings, a rarity for outgoing presidents. His two-term presidency had not only reshaped American politics but also influenced the global order in profound ways. Reagan's legacy is often encapsulated by the resurgence of national pride he fostered, the economic growth achieved during his tenure, and the pivotal role he played in ending the Cold War. However, his presidency was not without controversy, sparking debates that continue to shape his historical assessment. Domestically, Reagan's economic policies, collectively known as Reaganomics, remain a subject of both admiration and critique. Supporters credit him with reviving a stagnant economy, creating jobs, and restoring consumer confidence. His tax cuts and deregulatory measures were seen as a victory for free market principles. However, critics point to widening income gap and tripling of the national debt during his administration, arguing his policies disproportionately benefited the wealthy. Reagan's efforts to shrink the role of government also had lasting impact on welfare programs, environmental regulations, and labor protections, fueling debates about the balance between economic freedom and social responsibility. On the international stage, Reagan's legacy is most strongly associated with the Cold War. He his unwavering stance against the Soviet Union, coupled with his willingness to engage in diplomacy, contributed to a shift in the global power dynamics. The historic moment of his presidency, such as the Tear Down This Wall speech in Berlin, symbolized a turning point in US Soviet relations. When the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, Reagan's policies were widely credited with accelerating the end of the Cold War, solidifying his reputation as a transformative leader on world stage. Reagan's personal charisma and ability to connect with people also defined his legacy. Dubbed the Great Communicator, he possessed a rare talent for inspiring hope and articulating complex issues in relatable terms. This quality endeared him to millions and ensured his influence extended far beyond his presidency. After leaving office, Reagan retired to his ranch in California, enjoying a quiet life with his wife, Nancy. In 1994, he revealed his diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, facing his final years with same optimism that characterized his life. Ronald Reagan passed away on June 5, 2004, but his legacy endures as a pivotal figure in the 20th century history, embodying the complexities of a leader in a rapidly changing world. Thanks for tuning into Historical Legacies. If you enjoyed this dive into history, please like, subscribe, and share. Join us next time for more fascinating stories from the past. Thank you.